The mom's struggle is real.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Mom's Struggle is Real. Yes, again, it is a day late, but you know what? I don't really care.
Hey, we're not $1 short.
No, we're not $1 short. Sorry, super fans. I say both super fans. Maybe there's, like, quiet super fans.
I don't know. My mom said, aren't I a super fan? I go, I guess so.
You can't. No, she
mom.
yells at you for swearing. That's not being a super fan. That's just being...
She's my mom.
Right.
She can't be a super fan.
No, she's biased.
Yeah.
She has to listen.
She says she enjoys it.
Does she enjoy it?
Yeah. It's kind of odd.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Not sure if that's right.
I'm not sure either. Well, anyway, welcome to this week's episode. Last week, no more crusty socks, but last week got a lot of response again, too. So I was really concerned about that episode for obvious reasons, but people have been saying, no, it's raw, it's good, it's that. And I'm like, okay. And you're just like, yeah, sure, keep it. And I'm like,
I love throwing you to the wolves.
Yeah, thanks. You don't do that to the co-host, and you don't do that to your producer. See, that's the other thing. I'm not just a co-host. I am the producer. You know, I could just edit all that stuff out.
You could have edited it out, but
it would have been just you talking.
I know, but
that would have been
awkward.
awkward.
Saying you won't ever edit anything.
No, I won't. Because I like to keep it raw. Dog it.
Raw, dog
off pod. There we go. Sorry, Dan. We're starting off good this week. But last week's episode, if you haven't listened to it, I don't know why you didn't. Go over to earplugpodcast.com. Check it out on the website or on any of your favorite podcast apps. We are everywhere. Tracy keeps asking me where we are, and there's just a list. It just keeps going.
Took the sign out from behind me. I usually look behind me.
Yeah. Well, it's SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Satchel, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, and probably a ton of other ones that I have no idea because I know they just popular. I did say that, iTunes. So please leave us a review. See, I know you don't pay attention. See, that's the thing. But guess what? You're going to have to now.
I know, you're going to make me do an intro.
You're doing the intro. Easing it in. This is episode 10.
Well, this is an easing in process, isn't it?
It's 10 weeks.
Hey, if people are dating, sometimes it takes 10 weeks.
Does it?
In my case, it usually does.
Oh. I don't know anything about waiting 10 weeks for anything, so maybe that's my problem.
Well, this is that.
I am not even going to talk about that because now, how many days or weeks do I wait? Anyway, that's a different topic.
I don't know. I'm a little scared to ask.
What?
How many weeks you wait?
Third date.
And do you get those in succession, 3 days in a row?
I try. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. But it has happened. But I wait till the third date. Isn't that?
It's only sucky if the 3 dates are 3 days in a row.
Why is it sucky? That means we're getting along and things are going well. It's not like I tried to have sex on the first date.
I think it needs to be broken up, like 1 date a week or wait 3 weeks.
Why?
You need to really know them. What if you don't like them? What if they smell like tuna fish?
Well,
I guess in 3 days, that's a good time to leave.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously... There's this silence here, of course, because I can't answer that because I don't know. If I didn't like them, then there wouldn't be a third date. You don't know how many days does it take you to understand or know that you like the person.
Usually I know within the first 10 minutes whether
See?
I like somebody.
Well, there
or
you
not.
go. Mm-hmm. So if I broke that down into days and a minutes, it'd be the 30th minute. Then I could have sex. You do 10 minute, 10 minute, 10 minute, and then there you go. See, I met them and now they're nice.
Or if you leaned forward and grabbed the food off my plate, that would have.
Oh, yeah, Joey doesn't share his food. I don't do that either. I've been known to do it, but I don't share my food. Yeah, I think on the third date, but no, I don't think it's ever been 3 days in a row.
Oh, good.
Maybe 2 weeks.
Usually you're working in the bar. You're always working those 3 days usually, so.
Why? I can have a date on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Why? You didn't work 7 days a week? I know you did because I used to work 7 days a week.
That's different. We don't talk about that time frame anymore. That's totally different. Dating? No, there was no dating.
No, not during those
No,
times.
there was. But yeah, you just sidetracked me now because of what I wanted to say. But anyway, we have a guest today.
We do.
We've been talking about having. I know we've been talking about having a guest pretty much from episode 1.
I know, those
but
damn COVID.
yeah, right. So I'm going to let you introduce our guest.
It's Kasey.
Kasey.
I do it every time.
Every time.
You do it to me.
No, I mean, at least
okay.
I'm very consistent about it.
I'm not offended.
No.
It doesn't. It takes a lot to offend
I have it
me.
in my phone wrong. Because I can't spell. I'm dyslexic.
That's not.
No, I swear to God, I'm dyslexic.
No,
but anyways,
spelling,
I knew I was going to do it.
Spelling her name has nothing to do with being dyslexic.
It does when you read it wrong.
Let me see what you wrote.
Kasey. Okay.
Kasey.
I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
Kasey.
It's just Kasey with a K instead of a C.
C.
Right.
But you'd be surprised
God,
how
I just
much
suck.
that confuses people when I say it.
It does.
They go, oh, Kaci?
No.
And I look at them and I say, how do you spell Kasey with a C? Casey.
Yeah, there you go.
Then why would you shorten it? And,
I just suck.
it's just...
Honestly, I know I do.
did.
I'm lucky I remember my own name. And you can spell that like 5 different ways, too.
Yeah, definitely.
But I know that this is a subject that we wanted to talk about from day one. And I do know this is something you've gone through
Yeah.
several times.
Yeah, for one child, but mine was nowhere near
The extent
what
that mine was.
No,
The
no.
infertility issues. Yes, that big infertility subject that we kept saying we were going to talk about. Well, since Herb doesn't know if he's infertile, I have to bring somebody else in.
No comment.
Well, and that's the thing is there's such a stigma when you're trying to have a baby that most people in their minds think if something's wrong, it's the woman. It's not always.
No, it's not always the woman.
It's not.
Usually it's us for the most part, but
It can swing both ways.
yeah.
But when we were getting pregnant with my first daughter, sometimes it just takes time naturally because my first daughter was all natural. And
She was? I thought she was infertility.
nope.
No?
But before we started really getting into it and like, okay, we're on month
Are we
3,
talking
4.
about into sex or into infertility?
No, into into sex, I guess. Into the trying to get pregnant with.
You mean practicing?
Yes. When we decided to.
You didn't know how to do it? We were only practicing?
When we decided to try to get pregnant the first time, it took a couple of months, but when we decided to try and start for a child, I was like, you know what? We're both, I see an OBGYN on a regular basis anyway, just as a woman. But I told my husband, I was like, send him to urologist. I'm like, get it checked out. We're not going to try. I'm in my mid-30s. I was like, we're not going to try for a year and then be like, oh, something must be wrong, and then have to go figure things out and this and that. I was like, why not just pay a copay and go to the doctor and figure
Yeah, but
it out.
notoriously, they want you to try for a year. Usually, they want you to stumble through that whole mess, try to do it naturally, and then when it doesn't work, then they do it. But that's heartbreaking for a lot of people.
Yeah, but we weren't having fertility issues with this. A lot of times it's just timing on getting pregnant, the old-fashioned way.
Unless you don't want to get pregnant. Then,
And
it just
then
seems to
it's not a
happen.
problem.
Right.
Well, yeah, no kidding. I hear couples
Yeah,
trying
it's
for
true.
months. I'm like, well, how many times do you have sex? And they're like 3 or 4 times a week, and it's been months.
Yeah.
And then I hear that, oh, we had sex once, and now I got a kid. I'm like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
You just got lucky on that.
I wonder if you tell your swimmers just not to go.
You could talk to them, have a little meeting ahead
All right,
of time.
you're just going to swim around it. Don't go around, just swim around.
But everything was fine at that point. We got pregnant with Ellie and had her when we started for the next one. I got my IUD out. Cycle started again, and then all of a sudden it stopped. So I thought I was pregnant. It's like, negative test. And I'm like, So I called my OB. She's like, okay, give it another week. If it's still a negative test, then I'm going to send you for blood work. So it was still a negative test. She sent me for blood work and calls me back. And she's like, some of your numbers are off. She wasn't expecting it because I was, 36. And so she sent me to fertility specialist. I'm like, okay, but I'm a type 1 diabetic. And I have been since I was 3.5. So they honestly, even nowadays, don't know how much of an effect something like that has on fertility. They They really don't. There were very few answers about, well, does diabetes really interfere with that or this or that? And wasn't much known. So, yeah, other than that, there was nothing wrong. I was just to the point where my body was not, my hormone levels were off, and it wasn't letting them mature enough to release an egg to get pregnant. And so even if I was releasing something, it wasn't mature enough to even, get fertilized. So that's when, so then we went into and did the IUI we did that 2 or 3 times.
That's all. They made me do that like 10. And mine are aging decrepit eggs. So they figured, let's see. They are. By the time you hit a certain age.
It's amazing some of the terminology they have with women over the age of 35 pregnant. I was 35 when I had my daughter, and it's still considered what do they call it, like an elderly pregnancy or something? I mean, it's the worst
Isn't
words
50 the new 30 in the first place? So what the hell?
But after the age of 25, your eggs start maturing, so their chances of getting pregnant drop off. And so that's when they start considering
So I should
getting
start
older.
dating older women?
Yeah, if you don't want her to get pregnant. If that's your goal.
No, I'm just kidding. So, Kasey, what caused it? Did they know you were obviously fertile in the beginning, and then it's like one day the light switch went off, and that's
just
it?
age.
But they didn't expect it because of your age, because it was young.
I was under 40. I'd never had endometriosis or other things that explain more, and you're expecting to have some issues with it and stuff.
So there's no known causes. It just happens. Is that pretty much what it is?
I'm sure it can be situational with each person. That might be different.
Right.
But with me in particular, it was just all they could really base it off of is, well, you are diabetic, and I know that my mother went through menopause early, like early 40s. 41, she was going through stuff. So that can have what your mother and grandmother, great-grandmother, genetics can have a lot to do with things.
Like diet or anything like that change? I mean, obviously being a diabetic, I could see with the insulin and what you're going through could definitely change your body. But like as you get older, your body changes every 7 years. So things that you're allergic to 7 years ago, you're not necessarily allergic to. Like I used to be allergic to milk until I was 10. I was drinking goat's milk when I was, shut up.
From the teat?
From the teat? I'm going to start turning your mic off. Raw dog. So I had to drink goat's milk for the longest time. And then I was allergic to the chlorine of a pool. I couldn't go out swimming. And I was literally, and I'm allergic to the sun. I'm still allergic to the sun.
Really?
I can't stay out at long periods of time. And it's not just like heat stroke. It's just I'm allergic to it. Something.
Do you get a rash or anything to stay out?
No, I'll just pass out. But it's not like a heat. It's not like a heat stroke, and that's actually I've been.
I think I'd rather itch.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't in years, but I can tell when I get. Even if it's not like if you're running, you're doing. Obviously, you're tired, you're sweating. I don't get hot a lot, but when I get hot, then I'm like, all right, I got to go. So, but the chlorine, peanut butter, and the milk changed. I don't know if it was exactly 7 years, but your body does do a cycle of every 7 years. It changes. So I'm wondering if that might have something to do with it, too.
Well, I know there were certain things they wanted me to eat to help me get pregnant. I know that.
Right. There are superfoods out there for many
Oysters?
reasons, not just
actually,
pregnancy.
oysters was not one of them. Pineapple was...
Really?
I remember us talking about this.
Avocado and pineapple. And they would tell you to take the pineapple, chop it up, and then chop up the center, the core itself, and eat that. That it helps make the egg stickier to stick to the side of the uterus.
It's an egg trap.
Yeah, literally. But I had really bad endometriosis and then aging eggs and the whole 9 yards. And I wasn't in a relationship, so I wasn't worried about getting pregnant until I wanted to have a kid. And then when I met Dan at 40, and that's when I found out it all went downhill. But of course, they put me on Clomid at the very first shot, and finding out the doctor that put me on Clomid ended up getting a stern talking to from the person at the infertility clinic saying you don't put somebody my age on Clomid because...
Can you explain to people what that is?
Clomid is a drug that helps you produce an extra amount of eggs.
Okay.
Ovulation drug.
That so that when they do an IUI, or actually in this case we didn't do an IUI, we went home to have the old natural normal way having sex, and then
Is there a new way of having sex?
Well, then
the
you go
old
to
way. The old way.
Well, that's the old way, because
knew what
in
you
our
meant.
cases, you don't. If it's IVF, as Dan would say, he does his business in one room, and I did
gotcha,
my business in
gotcha,
another room,
gotcha.
and then they bring it in and
Gotcha.
get the IUI. They inject it into you, and IVF.
Gotcha.
It's all been
Basically, IUI is turkey baster.
Gotcha.
IVF is petri dish.
Okay.
basically.
Gotcha.
basically.
Alright.
And found out that way that was not the way to go at my age, so they got chastised, and then
For what reason? Was it because of blood pressure? Because of what?
because something about the Clomid already with a limited amount of eggs at my age when you get that old, because your eggs are mature and your body, you're only born with a certain amount of eggs.
I was just fixing to say that.
And when you're only born with a certain amount of eggs, and then you ovulate every cycle from the day you start your period, and then there's not enough eggs left when you get to being 40. If they start making you produce 20, 30 eggs in one shot, now your limited amount of eggs are flying out the window, and now you're pulling up some stuff that might never have been used
Right.
anyways. They aren't good stuff anyways. So, so they got chastised for that. So then we ended up going to the infertility clinic and being put on a different round of drugs for IVF.
How were
Or
they?
actually, IUI first.
Now, did the drugs? What side effects?
Other than you being cranky, moody, and swollen.
Great
most
time
of
to
the
have
time.
sex,
Yeah.
huh? That's great. That's
Basically,
that's
like
a-
being in PMS
that's
for
like-
a long time.
That's a drug-induced cock block right there.
Literally.
Oh, wow.
Remember how I told you too? It's like now sex on demand, and you're like, what the hell? Who the hell wants to do it like this?
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, gotta go do it right now. I
Right.
don't care what the hell you're doing. Stop what you're
Well,
doing.
and that was when, because in IUIs, they're like, okay, you had the IUI today, you need to have sex this day, and then 2 days later, and then it's supposed to help ensure that something happens.
Right.
And so,
Well, that's not fun.
No.
I wouldn't
but-
even. I wouldn't even be able to finish. I'd be like, oh, fine, let's do it, just to
But
do it. But I'm like,
at the
this
time,
isn't cool.
yeah, at the time, my husband was working shift work and
So you're out in the parking lot waiting for
Well,
him to get. All right, you're done.
he would leave for work at 4:45 in the morning, and he wouldn't come home till like 8 p.m.
Right.
I'm like, okay, by this time, we have a toddler,
Right.
and so I'm like, she's still awake, because if I didn't keep her up
Right.
late at night, then she didn't see her father for 4 days every
Right,
week or
right.
whatever. And I was like, nah, no, she's young enough to where we can adjust this. And
Yeah, but they literally
Good.
say to you, you have to do this at 8 o'clock at night.
yeah.
Really?
And
Yeah. They'll tell you exactly what time they want you to do.
Yeah,
What's
and
the
so-
most
and I'm like,
opportune time? Because you're taking
yeah.
a shot. It's a
Yeah.
trigger
Well, how do
shot.
they know that?
yeah.
Because they're giving you a trigger shot.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I
Everything's
see.
timed
I
out
gotcha,
by
I
the
gotcha.
medications they've
Gotcha.
given you before.
But
for
they
the
could be
day.
wrong too, right? Everybody's
No,
different.
once they give the trigger shot, normally that's a 12 hours after the trigger
Yeah.
shot. Usually.
It's all based on the blood work and ultrasounds right before they start the medications, before they do the procedure.
Gotcha.
And then from there, all of that is timed out, like 12 hours, 24, 48.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So if you know there's a 12 hours ahead, so let's say it's you and Dan, you're like, all right, it's 12 hours ahead. Let's try to plan something. I mean, now obviously within the scope of things, instead of just drop your pants, let's go. Like, okay, it's time.
Well, they might say take the trigger shot at 12 in the afternoon.
Right.
So then they're like, try to do it around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock that night. Well, they would never
Right.
do it that way. Normally it's like
Right.
8 in the morning, 9 in the morning. Because then that window, because you want to catch it like in that 2-3 hour window. Because
Right.
sperm only lasts for so long.
Right.
Y'all check out.
That's not cool. Wow. I don't have a sound
it's
effect for
it's
that.
not the funnest way to go about having
Oh, I don't think
children.
it'd be fun at all. I'd be like,
But-
okay. I feel like, well, now I'm just a tool.
But it's definitely
Literally, I'm just a tool. I'm
Literally
like,
a
great.
tool.
All right, thanks. Okay.
But it's definitely
Yeah.
worth it in the end.
Yeah,
It
of
is.
course.
Like
yes.
on the successful stories. Well, when we went to the fertility clinic, the very first time we met with the doctor, he was like, "Let me just tell you, these stories you see where women have 6 and 8 babies, we do not consider those success stories. No. That is not what we are.
Right,
and how she was saying the old-fashioned way of of taking ovulation drugs and having sex, a lot of those stories, that's how they got pregnant with multiple babies.
Gotcha.
It wasn't that they had IVF where they extracted the eggs and made it an embryo and then implanted 8 of them in there.
Except for Octomom. She was an idiot.
Well,
all those in there.
I mean,
Octomom.
we're talking
Octomom.
sane people,
Yeah.
okay? I mean, but he made it very clear. He was like, that is not what we're striving for,
No.
you know?
Yeah, they said the same thing to me.
Now, once you are infertile, were you obviously were your entire life? I mean, you don't know. You do know, but you do know. Okay.
Not.
Okay.
Nope.
So does it ever go back? Like, if you're fertile, then you're infertile. Can you be fertile again?
I think you can. I think it's
Right,
situational.
Right.
Because there are women that have they have a child, they have problems having a child,
Right.
and then their third child happened naturally again,
Right.
like
by accident.
You know,
Oops.
Well, a lot of times that happens. They'll just try to be doing IVF, and they've done it now for 2 years, and nothing happened.
give
And then
up.
when they finally stop and they give up, now there isn't the stress of IVF anymore, and they end up getting pregnant.
stress does unthinkable things to your body.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
Oh, I know.
it absolutely can. It sucks.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I know several people that a family friend of ours growing up had a son. He was 2 years behind me, and he was a junior in high school. And his mom, she was about 47, starting to go through menopause, just the beginnings of, pre-menopause stuff. And boom, she got pregnant. They tried for 10 years, to have a second child. And they just, okay, wasn't ever going to happen. And then, and now that child is graduating high school.
And trust
I'm like,
me,
oh my
I understand.
God, it makes you feel old.
I had Hudson at 46, so trust me.
But yeah, and of course, the older you get, there are a lot more things to worry about.
Yeah,
a
now
lot
I
more
remember.
things.
They called me perimenopausal. I was 40. Now, at that point, thinking that you're perimenopausal, like, you hear that as like a 60-year-old woman. I'm
Right.
like, really? I don't want to hear
Well,
that.
chances are in the next 5 years, I will be going through menopause, and I'm 39.
It's brutal. And then the whole
I'm okay with it now. I've had my 2 children. I'm not working for anymore. We still have an embryo frozen that, I'll have for almost another year because I just paid the money to hold it for one more year.
Was it like you're saving it like a wedding cake?
did too.
Well, it's the only one I have left.
Right.
But
It's
they give you the option to donate it. Dan and I were almost
no.
did that, and we were like, we can't do it.
I can't knowingly possibly have a child out there that is mine and my husband's.
Right.
Where we know nothing about. I'm. There are lots of people out there that they would be great, and it would be a wonderful gift to them. But you could also get the one that ends up, chaining their child in the basement
Right.
or beating them or whatever horrible
Right.
things you can think of. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, we stored one. Actually, we stored 3, and we put 3 back in at the end. I remember saying to the doctor, "Are you crazy?" I go, "Because if all 3 of these take, you're coming to
Did you
raise
do the
them."
glue?
Yep.
I did that because I only actually did IVF once, and I have a 1.5-year-old from it.
Now, how long was your process?
Mine 7 years.
You went through 7 years.
Yeah, I did 3 or 4 IVFs, and I only got pregnant out of 1. And there was 2 eggs when we put Hudson back in. So
Between all the medication and obviously the crankiness and the tool sex. It's the only way I can explain it. I'm sure there's going to be, I know one super fan's going to give me crap.
Mm-hmm.
How, obviously because of the stress, and it's been 7 years, how's your mental capability at that point? Is depression, anxiety,
all of it.
kind of like,
Yes.
I'm never going to be a mom. What's wrong with my body? I'm not a good person. I mean, all those things
You
kind of
do
just
go
going
through
yeah.
feeling betrayed by your own body.
Right.
If it's only for a short period of time or it's a lot, you know.
Because I remember you telling me it was 7 years, but
Yeah, and I felt as if I wasn't worthy. I felt like I wasn't good enough, and I told
you're
you
not a woman. Is that how you?
right?
Right.
And people are having kids all around me.
And that's the thing.
Who didn't
is
want kids.
You don't see pregnant women around you
Until
you're
yeah,
trying
right.
so hard
Right.
to get pregnant and stuff. And yeah, then it's like everywhere you look.
And that,
you know?
obviously the drugs controlling your hormones, so your hormones have got to be
And
off
you're up
whack.
and down. And
Yeah.
of course, they tell you not to take a pregnancy because the trigger shot actually makes you look pregnant.
I don't think any woman abides by this rule.
Nobody does.
Say this again.
So when they give you for an IUI, they give you when you do an IVF, they don't give you a trigger shot, and but for IUI, they give you a trigger shot, and you take the trigger shot, and that's what releases the egg to get fertilized. Well, you show pregnant on a pregnancy.
It sounds like you're talking about a pinball machine. Is that
Feels that way.
bing? Okay, release
Kinda.
the egg.
You feel that way. I mean, but for 2 weeks, 14 days, you show pregnant on a pregnancy test
Because
okay.
the trigger
Trigger
shot,
shots in there.
Right.
Okay.
the trigger shot is the hormone that pregnancy tests test.
Test, right.
You know?
So I'm sure you probably did take
Oh
the
yeah,
test.
they tell you to
Everyone
wait
does.
exactly 2 weeks. Well, anybody in the IVF community knows if you do this, you literally test yourself out. You take the test and wait for it to show up.
To
not
turn
pregnant.
negative.
Right.
Gotcha.
'Cause then you know it's out. And then you
Oh.
start testing again.
And
to
then
see if
within
you're
the next
pregnant.
couple of
So,
days.
but you know that, so your hopes aren't getting your hopes aren't getting
I know,
raised, but
but-
you know, because of the
But
shot.
sometimes for some women, that's the only positive they ever see. The trigger shot
Right, right.
positive.
And it keeps you from losing your mind in that
yes.
2 weeks
Right, no,
too.
okay.
For
You're
that
like,
2
okay,
week span.
okay.
And then
So do you
after-
take the test and like, all right, get in the bedroom, let's go and have sex? I mean, because the trigger shot's still in there.
No, the trigger shot just shows on a pregnancy test.
Okay, so you have the 12 hour. You have 12 hours though. Within 12
Right,
hours
to
gotcha,
get pregnant.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Technically, they say it's really around 24 hours, but it's really only a small, really
Right,
small
okay.
window.
Yeah.
But the rest of the trigger stays in your system for.
Right.
For
You have to
up to
test it out.
14 days.
I think
Okay,
it's
okay.
10,000 milligrams or something, whatever it is. But then it keeps going down and down and down. So eventually it will test itself out of the system. So, usually after about 7 days, you're starting to take pregnancy tests. And of course, it shows up positive. And all right, I know
It's
there's a
not
trigger
really-
shot there. So, and then you wait.
So after
another-
14 days, it could be
it
almost.
should be all out.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
you test positive, there's a very good chance.
You're
Yeah,
pregnant.
but there's usually a couple of day window
Of
there where
course,
there's going
yeah.
to be none.
Right.
So once you get that negative and you take
Oh,
one
I see what
each
you're
day
saying.
the next
It's
couple
like-
of days
it's
and
like-
it turns positive,
It's like a
then
clean
you're pregnant.
slate.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then you can start testing
But
again.
once you've done this enough, you know how your body eats up that trigger shot.
Right.
So a lot of times, like mine would about 10 days in, it would be out.
Right.
So I knew
Yeah.
that I would basically have it all out in about 10
So
days.
you test 8, 9,
Yeah.
and
So
10
you-
days,
and
and
then you look, and then you get online and you buy the stronger test, the stronger ones that find like 5 mLs or whatever it in it.
And there's a
Where-
lot of women out there that know nothing about. They think all pregnancy tests are created equal.
Oh,
They
yeah,
aren't?
no.
And
No, some do it on like 50. I don't know if it's milligrams or whatever it is, but it's whatever the ml. I don't know, but there's 50 milligrams of it or whatever, and then it goes to 25, and then some are 15, and then there's a 10. But they make a 5, and trust me, I found it.
Can you explain the difference from higher? So the lowest.
the lowest one will measure as soon as it gets into your bloodstream.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Like the 15 one, it's going to have to get up to that
Gotcha.
amount
Okay.
of.
Oh, okay.
And the number doubles daily. So if it starts out where you're 2,
Yeah.
then it goes to 4, then it goes to 6.
Okay.
It goes to 8, and then
Right.
it goes to 16. So you have to wait. So if you have to wait to get to 25 or 50, that could be an extra 7 days
Right.
sometimes.
And that's where when you said last episode that it ain't 9 months. No, it's a good 40 weeks. And that all depends on which month you're pregnant.
Right.
Because each month has a different amount of days in
Right.
it. But I lost my train of thought.
Oh, we were talking about the strength of the
Pregnancy
pregnancy
tests.
tests.
I don't know, but
That's
you
all right.
It'll come back to
trust
me.
me.
It'll come back.
Anybody who's obsessed with this and somebody who's done it
Oh.
for as many years as I did, you find every angle to get around it to try to make sure you're
Right.
pregnant.
That's
But
what it was.
then if you're not, it's the most depressing thing. That crash you come off from, that little bit of high you get, that crash is awful.
What do you try? Do you want to be? Do you think, all right, we're going to try again immediately, or because of the way you got let down, I guess, let's say, and do you just like, I'm done, I give up?
I am not a give up person,
Right.
so it was tough for me. That's why I went on for 7 years. But I get I got very, very determined that I was going to make sure I was going to get a positive at some point in time. So I kept doing it and doing it. It's just the guilt you have financially for what you had your partner put into it.
Right.
Emotionally, what you put into it, both of you. You know, he's
Hormonally, what you put into
Right.
it.
Yeah,
I mean, when it stops, when it was negative, you didn't go right in and test again. You took a break, right? Or I mean,
Oh no, we go right to the next cycle. They
Okay.
literally don't unless there
As
was-
long as things line
Right.
up for that, you
As
know.
long
So you're
all your blood
constantly
work-
doing this for 7 years?
Oh yeah, when your blood work comes back normal, there's times where they made me stop for 1 or 2 months to even out my blood work.
okay.
They'll
Because
throw
blood
you-
work wasn't lining up to continue.
right,
with
and they'll
that
throw
month.
you back on a pill. They'll
Right.
throw you on a what do you when you not get pregnant?
Birth control.
Thank you. They'll throw you back on a birth control pill
Okay.
to even out your system again.
Mhm.
Which you're like in your mind, you're like, I'm just getting older. I'm wasting time. You know, I don't want to be on a birth control pill. What if I got pregnant naturally, and now you're putting me on a birth control pill? I mean, everything
Could you say no to the birth control?
you could,
Yeah.
but then it could take you. I was so far out of whack every time because of the
It all depends on how
medication.
regular you are, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and I was getting older, so things weren't regular anymore. So there was when I refused it a couple times, literally I would take 4 or 5 months. So I just did what they told me.
Yeah.
Right.
When I was, taking ovulation tests and that, I've never been able to mark my stuff by a calendar and go, oh, in 31 days, or 28 days, whatever. Never. It'll be like 26 days and then 32 days and then all my life. It's always been that way. So it's difficult to pinpoint things. What I was going to say a while ago is when you find out you're pregnant, you're already at least a month pregnant. So it backtracks and they figure out when you got pregnant and it backtracks to the first day of your last menstrual cycle before that day. So if you find out and you're like, oh, well, I had my cycle, the numbers screw with you when you become pregnant and you start looking at it mapped out and you're like, this doesn't make any effing sense. Sorry, I'm usually around toddlers, so I say effing instead of
swear.
fucking.
Okay,
but
there you go.
But
You're welcome, Mom.
It's very frustrating when you're like, well, what do you mean I'm already this? So that, it's like, I told my sister-in-law, I was like, I should have had that one drink. She was like, if 1 or 2 drinks in the first 6 to 8 weeks of pregnancy was going to horribly ruin any pregnancy, she was like, most of the people on this earth would not be alive.
Right.
True.
And I'm like, you're right. But when you put so much time and effort into it, like doing fertility, you're
Right.
like, I'm not doing anything that's going
Right.
to screw this up.
I mean, obviously the amount of money as well.
The guilt.
I would-
that is
yes.
awful. Not only that, the medication alone
Yeah.
is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very expensive.
I got lucky with insurance.
I
Right.
did with insurance too, but if I had to pay cash, it was $10,000 a month.
Now, how does this affect your partners? I mean, obviously you're 2 different men here, but
Yeah, we do not share men.
obviously,
That would be weird.
that would be
a
weird.
little bit.
That's a whole different show.
Yeah.
That's a whole different podcast. Mom cannot listen to that one. How did that affect your husband?
I mean, it affected him.
Yeah.
But like I said, I went and saw the fertility clinic in August, the beginning of August, I think it was. And that's when first testing, everything started. And I had a miscarriage at Thanksgiving. I found out I was pregnant from an IUI. And I was in Texas visiting my parents and came back on like Friday or Saturday. Monday, we had an appointment with the fertility clinic, and my HCG levels were not climbing the way they should, which is they take one and then 4 days later they take another one and they're checking to make sure that those numbers have gone as far up as they need to for 4 days or whatever. And that tells them that it's a healthy,
Viable
viable pregnancy.
Right.
And my numbers were not going up. So it was a miscarriage. And that was the suckiest part. I mean, not only because it was a miscarriage, because by that time you've had 2 weeks that you think you're pregnant. I mean, everything's
Right.
happy and, this and that. But the waiting for those hormones to get back out of your system, that was the punch in the stomach to me. Because they won't let you start a new cycle of IUI or IVF until all of the HCG is out of your system and stuff. And you have to go in weekly.
Yeah,
and you get tested, and then they call you and go, nope, it's still there. And then the next week. Every single week.
Well, you're also not in a good mood. I mean, obviously there's depression, anxiety set in with a miscarriage, and then now you got to wait. Did you ever, after that, did you think at all that you were like, oh, I don't want to keep doing this?
No. Because I knew I did not want my daughter to be an only child. I just knew that.
Right.
And if it had ever come down to it, we could have and would have probably adopted or, other ways to actually become a parent. But I wasn't done with this yet, And so...
How was your husband during this time?
He was all right. I mean, obviously he was sad and,
of course,
and stuff like that.
Why I ask is because, I mean, obviously the both of you are still married and everything's good, but I've heard going through this can be...
It's extremely stressful.
Stressful, and not even about the money, they split because it's just one, whether it's the husband's fault, the wife's fault, whatever, it just doesn't work. It's just so stressful that we're like, okay. And I've heard so many people break up over the situation.
We didn't have anything like that where we were like at each other's throats or this and that. Like, he didn't blame me for us not being pregnant yet. I didn't blame him, I mean, and stuff. I was actually the most nervous about taking the progesterone oil shots once I became pregnant, because you look at these needles and they're like this long. Granted,
yeah, because Tracy loves needles.
No, granted, I don't like needles.
They're like horse needles. They're awful.
Well, I don't like needles, but I'm not afraid of shots because I've been a type 1 diabetic since I was 3. Yeah, you can't avoid them. And stuff. So, but I saw that needle, and my husband goes, I'm pretty sure if I put this in you, it's going to poke out your stomach.
It's like
and that's what you feel like it's going to do. And I was petrified of those until he did the first one. And then I was like, why was I worried about that? Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I don't even know if I could give you the. I wouldn't even be able to give you the shot.
I could feel it and this and that, and it was. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best feeling thing when it went in or whatever.
Tracy's like, stop talking about it.
As soon as he did it, I would just rub, and it'd be sore for like 30 minutes to an hour.
Now you know how I feel when the word discharges.
I know,
you.
right?
See, there you go.
I mean, but I've been poked and prodded my whole life.
Oh my God, Dan was supposed to give me the shot. He did one, and it hurt so effing bad. I thought I was going to go through the ceiling. So, and then, of course, any type of needle bruises the shit out of me.
The bruising was bad from
like
it.
Somebody had beat me from, like, because every time you do an IUI or an IVF, you have to take the progesterone shot. So, and you have to shoot yourself for like 2 weeks or a month. Oh wait, no, it was like 8 weeks the whole time I was pregnant. The first time
it was a good while. It's like 4 to 6 weeks or something.
And after about the first or second time, I said, F it, do it my fucking self. Because I thought he was getting a little, like, high out of the fact that he was causing that much pain for me. So,
I ask Brad all the time. I'm like,
you sure you don't need a second shot today, huh?
Wink,
wink.
I'm like, you're enjoying causing me a little bit of pain, aren't you?
I felt he was getting a little bit of pleasure out of that.
But I told him, I was like, if you look like you're enjoying it too much, I will test your blood sugar while you're
guess
sleeping.
What? Let him have the enjoyment, because when you wake him up at 4 o'clock in the morning going, come on, we got to have sex right now. See, that I think it's fair play.
Now, Dan, when I was going through, he deserved a medal because, your emotions are up and down. When you get the negative test and find out you're not pregnant, now you feel like a failure. You're crying constantly. Now you have to dump all the hormones
whether
in your
you want to cry or not.
You have to dump all the hormones in your system and basically start over for the next cycle. And now he's trying to hold me up emotionally at the same time, trying to figure out, is this girl, ever going to get pregnant? How long am I going to go through this with her? Because he knew I wasn't going to give up.
Right.
And then,
you both will have to want it. Obviously.
You have to. And, I'm biting his head off every 10 minutes.
And obviously then between that and having sex on demand, there's no intimate sex.
Yeah, there's
nothing.
No
but that's really important, especially from the guy's standpoint. I couldn't even imagine, but I'm sure it's like, I'd be like, I really want to have sex with you, but man, I'm not going to touch you because you just go on. You're just, nope.
And remember, I told you, sometimes you have to save up. So there was no sex.
Right.
Because that's on the instructions telling the man, do not ejaculate for 48 hours before this happens.
No crusty.
Great. So now you're yelling at your husband. Oh, I'm so sorry. I used the crusty sock this morning. What? What do you mean you just wasted that load?
Dan used to kill me because he would go down to he'd have to go down there and do a deposit, as we call it. And we, as the girls, are treated like little princesses. We walk in.
The guys are just
pampered. Oh. They're nice. They're,
Yeah.
Here's your sticky magazine. Get in the room.
He was stuck in a room by a door that would open constantly by the lab room. And he's like, Trace, how the hell are you supposed to concentrate? You got a recliner over there with a big sheet of paper that falls over the top of it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be...
He's like... There's like cheesy magazines, movies from the 70s, and people are going in and out, and they know what you're doing in that room. Well, so it's not like they don't.
I'd be going, do we have any movies without Bush? I don't need the 70s, please. Thank you very much.
Well, the good thing now, you can take your own phone in
I
and
know,
watch whatever
right?
you want.
Right?
That's what my husband did.
Just give me the cup. I'll go in the car. I'm good.
Right?
That is a rotating cycle. Like, he had to wait one time for like 45 minutes for this one guy that didn't pull it off, so to say. And
listen, 45 minutes, that's painful, I'd be like, you know what? I'm done.
I'll come back tomorrow and try.
Yeah, I'm done. Are you kidding?
He had to go upstairs and use they have a massage room, like girls.
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture and a massage room. Like, they would, the girls could come down and get massages before so they were relaxed.
The poor men.
Oh, yeah, you guys got shafted, literally shafted.
Brad would go to work in the mornings, drive over there, do it, and go back to work.
Wow.
Because I'm a stay-at-home mom, too.
Right.
And, we had, a 3-year-old. So, she goes to preschool, but, she wasn't in it every day. We can't afford for her to be in it full time.
Right.
But I mean, then he'd expect me to go back to work.
Damn him. Damn him, think that.
That's not happening until my 1.5-year-old gets in school.
Just walking in that room from your description, no wonder why I took the man 45 minutes. I'd be like,
where the hell you need a big blue light to just look and see.
A black light, you
That's
mean?
What I meant. Black light to just fan the walls.
No.
Yeah, because that would help me. Wow, there's a lot of misses here. Whoa.
That would make you more comfortable.
Yeah, shitty aim going on.
Can you just give me the garbage can? Because there seems to be a lot of misses here.
Boy, that's some big hopes.
Yeah. Well, if you can't get it in a cup and it's all over the place, something's going on wrong.
But yeah, me and Brad didn't really fight a whole lot of that. But again, he was working shift work. He was working 12-hour shifts, so he's gone for 14 hours a day most of the time. Did
either one of them say no when you said let's have sex? I mean, You're tired, you're exhausted.
There's times Dan was
where
like,
Dan's
really?
like,
all right. I mean, yeah, he was not overly happy about it all the time.
I never got a no, but again, we didn't go through it for 7 years.
Right.
We started in August. Like I said, at Christmas, I had the miscarriage, and then after that, I was like, screw it, we're doing IVF.
Right.
I was like, because our insurance, we had very good insurance for this. A lot of insurances will cover fertility until you get to IVF.
That's where mine was.
And once you hit IVF, it's all out of pocket.
Why?
Each IVF.
Why?
That's just how they run.
Unless you worked for the government, like the state, then everything was covered. I mean, granted, all my medicine was still covered, but the IVF itself was not covered.
Gotcha.
And each round of IVF is $10,000.
What?
Now, that all depends.
Are you shitting me?
Hold on. That all depends because at the very beginning, you have eggs extracted. And then, they,
If that's that case, the kid at 5 years old is getting a job, start paying back that damn money.
Well,
No,
but if you have embryos left over, when you do the second round of IVF, you don't have to do a part of it.
Gotcha.
Like you use until you don't have embryo, and then you have to do all that over again.
Then you do it all over again, but it was still a fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still had a fee.
But
I think it was like $2,500 or something like that after that.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Our insurance, my husband's company put a clause in for our group insurance, and they will cover any fertility procedure up to $20,000. Anything. That's
you mean there's procedures more than $20,000?
Well, they will cover fertility treatments.
Right.
However many that you need until you hit $20,000, and then they won't cover it again, and that's for life.
So every round is $10,000?
Yeah.
For IVF, yes.
For 7 years?
And then I had an age cap on mine. I think I had to stop at 45. So
Why?
At 45, insurance
Because
won't
they
cover
Oh,
it.
then
consider-
insurance
They
won't cover
consider
it?
it
Okay.
they consider
null
you
and void.
just-
But insurance
yeah.
covered yours, except that.
I was all covered until the IVF procedure.
Okay.
All my medicine was covered up until that point, but not the IVF procedure.
So that procedure that was 10,000
Each.
Yeah.
and that's not including the cost of the medication. That's not including the
No.
cost of
No.
the actual doctor
No, I would say
visits.
medication
No,
could
right.
easily run you $10,000 a month if you didn't have
Probably.
insurance.
Yeah.
Holy
I saw the
crap.
bills. I think I only paid $300 a month, $300 a month for medicine. But
And each IUI was what, like 3,500, I think.
yeah, mine were all covered, so I don't know.
And so I did one round of just the ovulation medication because everything was lining up and it looked like if you take this, then, so we tried that 1 month. The very first month it didn't work.
Now, do you guys have to meet requirements for the insurance to pay for it too? Is there like not like a sign up form, but I'm saying obviously everything is with insurance. We might not pay for this because you're not.
I did.
You're not available to, or you're not. Your body's not good enough to have that procedure, or you
No,
have
but
to
they
do
made
this.
you go through certain things. Like
Okay.
the Clomid had to be first, then the
It-
IUA had to be first.
Yeah, it had to be
And
reasonable the way you
insurance
went.
regulates that.
Yes. And then I had to be on my insurance policy for at least 6 months before I was willing to do that. Oh, yeah. They were, because they don't want you
Mine
to sign
wasn't
up.
that.
Right.
Yeah, and we pay $100
Now
a month.
what? Now
for just for me.
What if the doctor didn't agree with the certain procedures? Does that matter?
There can be ways around
Okay,
it because
right,
they
okay.
can put in paperwork that says,
Right.
look, this isn't
Right.
good for this patient.
Like
so
that
we have
medication's
to
not going to
go-
work for you. We've got to go
we
to
have
something.
to do
Gotcha,
this.
gotcha,
Like an
gotcha.
override, and stuff. But my insurance, I had been on it for five years at that point. And even before that, I worked where my husband worked. So it was me just going on to his plan, so, but so we did 2 IUIs. And then I was like, screw it. Insurance is only going to cover to $20,000. When we're out of money, we're not going to keep doing this. We can't.
Right.
So are you wondering what IUI means yet?
Nope, I don't want to ask, and I don't really. And I'm sure somebody wants me to ask, and nope, not gonna. You're more than happy to.
It's only a technical
It's
term.
not really that.
It's all right.
bad.
It had nothing to do with load or anything like that.
No, I'm not worried about that. I just sure go ahead. Why you ask me laughing?
Well, because
so
I'm
now-
waiting for you to wonder what IUI meant and IVF.
I wasn't gonna ask.
IVF is in vitro fertilization,
Okay.
and IUI is.
Interuterine. And,
Okay. Well, when you asked me, I thought it was some kind of weird.
When you just said that interuterine. Now I forgot. So no, somebody else can text that in for us.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say it when I said, "Do you want me to tell you?"
Well, when you said it and laughed, I'm like, oh, I don't want to know this term, but yeah, I know those terms.
Insemination. Thank you.
Insemination.
I was going to say insertion, but that just didn't sound right.
Well, in a way.
It's same thing, isn't it? Yeah, same
So,
thing.
yeah, I told my
but it's
husband was like,
so weird. You got your legs up in a stirrup. Some girl comes in with a damn needle with a long little end on it, little twisty end, just shoves it in there.
it's a syringe.
Yeah.
It's not a needle.
Right,
it's a
yeah,
syringe with a...
Turkey baster.
Yeah, basically.
pretty much, yeah.
Just a really skinny
Yeah.
one.
You sound
Yeah.
so darn
Disappointed.
darn
Yeah.
so disappointed.
So damn disappointed
Can't you
in
get
it.
the
Yeah.
old one that my grandmother had from Thanksgiving? It's like this big around.
I know. Honestly, the speculum.
come on.
Yeah, come on.
The speculum.
My feet
hurt
are
worse
already
than
up.
that.
Like, I want at least give me some fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I told Brad, I was like, well, go big or go home. I'm like, let's just do it because...
So I can see how this is not obviously financial wise. I mean, obviously not everybody has the best insurance, and everybody's insurance is different.
Yeah.
And
I got
just
very
for that
lucky.
procedure, $10,000, and some insurance doesn't cover it. That right there could be a huge reason for a family or a marriage to just be.
Well, I have a neighbor, and her oldest daughter has a set of twins they're 4, and they had to do IVF.
they got a 2-for-1 deal then, of $5,000 each.
Well, usually you put 2 eggs in most of the time.
Okay.
But my neighbor, she was like, if y'all have to keep doing this and you have to pay out of pocket, when that happens, we want to give you some money to go towards that. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Like, she was like, well, in her family, she's like, when my daughter had to do it and stuff, all of us, pulled
Pitched in,
together
yeah.
so they could do it more than once if they needed to.
Right.
And there was her daughter, she had some issues that she was not going to get pregnant naturally. It wasn't that, things could change. It was
Not
not,
gonna happen.
going to happen. So it, I was like, well, it was like the sweetest thing that anyone's ever said to me.
I mean, yeah, it's not like here's $100.
Yeah, no. But I was like, Brad, look, if we do an IVF and it doesn't work, I said, we still have enough coverage through our insurance to do at least 2 more IUIs, but not another IVF.
Right.
I was like, so let's just do it. So I did 1 IVF, and I did the glue where when they put the embryos back in, they put this glue on it so it helped stick and attach
Call
itself.
It embryo glue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they stick it in there, and they hope it just sucks to that side of the uterus.
And we only put 1.
You only put 1? You got lucky.
Yeah. And was like, let's do it. And I asked her as she's doing it, I'm like, hey, can you calculate what my due date would be if this takes? And she's like, she's like, February 8th. And I looked at her and I was like, I'm already pregnant. I knew it. She's like, why? I said, because that is a special date in my family. That was my grandfather's birthday. It is my parents' wedding anniversary. And my parents have been married 46 years.
Damn.
High school sweethearts.
Right.
And it is the day that when me and Brad moved from Texas to here, that is the day we signed the papers and got the keys to our house. And now you're telling me that the IVF I've just done, that my due date is February 8th if I become pregnant. I was like, I'm pregnant.
See, I think your
And it
mindset
worked.
plays a lot on that.
Positivity I'm not saying positivity will do everything, but it doesn't hurt.
No, I'm saying, because I know a lot of people going into that, like, I know people that mortgaged their home to pay for that because it's very expensive, and that stress knowing they had 1 shot and 1 shot only.
That could stop the process right there.
That stops
Well,
the process right
stress,
there.
yeah.
And I remember,
And it's not like you get that money back.
no. And the girl's name was
Can I return
Michelle,
this?
was the girl that was the nurse that was dealing with me all the time. And I remember her when I was talking to her, she's like, don't worry about it. You'll get pregnant this round. And I was like, are you kidding me? No, I haven't had any luck at this. You kidding
Right.
me? This has not happened. She's like, oh, I'm telling you right now, you're going to get pregnant. And I went, I'm so glad you're excited about this because I just
Did
don't
you?
see it. I did get pregnant that
You know
round.
what it is? It's
It's
her
a
mental.
mindset
It
thing.
is.
Because she kept saying, she kept saying to me, don't test out of your stuff. So I kept testing, and all of a sudden I showed up pregnant before she told me I was going to be pregnant.
That's what happened with my miscarriage. I found out I was before they called me with the blood work.
Right. And then all of a sudden, like when I went in and got the numbers, they thought it was both babies had taken because the numbers were so high so quickly. And I'm like, well, that would be great. Just knock it out in 1 shot. That was my only plan. If I had had 2 now,
not the worst thing in the
I would have
world.
lost my mind at this point.
Oh,
but
yeah.
totally.
2 HUDs?
My thing was, okay, Brad, me and Brad had this conversation. I said, what if we implant 2? And then both of them decide that they're supposed to be identical twins because that's how it happens.
And then you have 4.
Yeah, unidentical twins, there's 2 eggs.
Yeah.
Identical twins, 1 egg splits into 2. What if they both decide to do that and then we've got freaking 4? I'm like, I'm like, first off, I'm 5 foot and $120. I'm like, no.
Not happening.
No. I'm like, I don't have room for 2 or more babies. I'm like, and, it's even harder on a woman's body when you have other medical issues that play into things. Being a diabetic and pregnant is a full-time job. It's almost 2 full-time jobs in one. I mean,
Now,
it's
on the
horrible.
medication, how is it, besides the side effects, how's the toll physically on your body throughout
awful.
that? Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
literally awful. Matter of fact, that was one of the reasons why I decided to get a hysterectomy after Hudson. Well, we did another round of IVF. It didn't take, and I'm like, well, there's no more eggs left. I don't plan on having any more kids. At that
not
point,
going through
I was,
this again.
Yeah, I was almost 47. I'm like, that would be unfair to another kid. I mean, it's bad enough Hudson's going to have an old mom as it is. I didn't want.
We already talked about this.
I know. So I was like, because of all that medication for so long, it ups your chances of having cancer, uterine cancer. So I
Yeah,
was like,
some
let's
things,
just get
yeah.
it out of
Just
here.
get out.
And I just took it out.
Yeah.
Which I can't say was not the best decision of my life.
Why?
Well,
No more periods. It's great.
it's just done.
Discharge.
Oh.
I have a Mirena, so I don't have one anyway. But
Herb's like, why do I have to be here for this subject? If anybody could see Herb's face right now, just shaking.
so if I became
Dum-dum-dum.
pregnant naturally, it would be God's will, because chances are I'm not going to get it naturally, and I have.
I was going to say you're not going to do it naturally. Aw, man, your husband. That sucks for your husband.
We've done the natural thing. We've done the non-natural thing.
But I'm like, it's chances are it's not just going to happen, and I've got an IUD, so I'm like, if we get pregnant, then
there's
it
been
is
babies
God's
coming
will.
out with an IUD right in their hand.
I know. But with
is this yours?
But with having the issues of needing IVF, and I feel pretty confident that I'm like there would be other things that would have to be discussed in this and that if I came up pregnant right now because of a medication that I'm on for prevention of kidney damage. It's a medication that is, that would be the first conversation that my endo would have with me is, do you really want to keep this pregnancy?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, chances are it's not going to be pretty. And heart and lung defects, mental it's just,
And all we worry about is having sex.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You just have not much to think about when it comes to that. You have to deal with us going through that kind of shit, but could you deal with somebody going through infertility treatments?
I don't know. I can't. That's something I don't think anybody could explain.
I think if you love them enough, you could. But like you just said, that rips apart relationships too.
Because I'm sure with
sometimes it brings you closer.
Well,
you just don't know beforehand which it's going to be.
I mean, obviously, if there's already stress with work and your normal stress, and then obviously we want to have kids, the two of us want to have kids. There's the $10,000. Insurance not going to cover some of this. Now I got to pick up possibly another job, and now you just told me that I got to drop my pants at 7:00 in the morning, and I'm not gonna do it. Kind of not feeling that I can. So I could see all that, but I can't honestly say that because.
But it makes
you're not in that situation.
Yeah.
You're not in that situation.
You don't know until you are.
Whether you really want it. Let
me
tell you.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, especially in this day and age, right off the bat for me, and not that it's like a standard guy response, would be the money. Obviously, it's coming from both sides. I mean, we're together, we're married. That's huge. I mean, there had to be a talk right off the bat going, all right, well, I have a great job. But if we're going and this goes on for a couple years, that great job's not going to be able to cover everything that the insurance can. So that's something that, I would assume you would have talked with your husband. So there has to be long talks way before this. Now, I'm sure it happened that there's a divorce because one side doesn't want to do it as much as the other side.
I'm sure that happened.
And I'd probably say it would be on the guy's side. I don't want to say that, but he would be the first one to possibly back out.
Well, because I can see a guy saying, well, if this doesn't take, I could have put the money on a house, or I could have put the money here. And I've seen it. I mean, Dan and I've had those conversations. I'm like, is this the smartest way for us to go about this?
Right.
And thank God he loves me enough that he was willing to do it. And I don't think we would ever look back and change anything at this point. I mean, we love Hudson to death, but there is the ups and downs and the emotional side, the financial side, all of it is a huge toll on. I mean, it's obviously going to be obviously you marry your best friend or whatever in the fantasy, whatever you want to call it, the perfect world. But that obviously does make you realize what the other person, what they can and can't they go through. I think COVID's harder, honestly. When you're stuck in a house with somebody for 4 effing months and can't go anywhere.
For me,
with your toddler, COVID is fucking
harder. But
for
me, but for me, I didn't deal with COVID like you dealt with COVID.
No,
so,
I was stuck.
I mean, I was still coming here. I was still, going grocery shopping and whatnot. I mean, I'm in and out. I'm not like gallivanting all around town, but it didn't affect me like as much as it did you, obviously, with HUD and staying there. But like I said, I don't think I can answer if I would do it. Because one, it puts me to the test. It puts the person I'm with to the test.
I'm just surprised I don't drink more at the moment.
And then they tell you can't drink.
I'm surprised I'm not drunk every day at the moment. I mean, used to before marriage and kids and stuff. I mean, I drink all the time.
Right, and have fun.
Now, I just don't because, if I wake up in the morning with a hangover, I still have to be mom with a hangover. We have zero family that lives here.
Right.
Zero. Our closest family is my brother-in-law and his family in New Hampshire. Like, it's a good 4-hour drive. Like, kids don't get to go to grandma's.
So when the family visit, we know Kasey's going to get drunk since somebody's going to watch that kid.
As long as they're there in the morning, right?
Yeah,
but my kids don't go to grandma's for the night or the weekend.
Right.
Or is that's why they're in Texas right now with my parents and my sister and her family. And they've been there for almost 3 weeks.
Right.
Now, do you have a
And-
concern with that being in Texas with COVID?
Not really, because they're not going out and like doing things. My kids are either at my parents' house or at my sister's house. My sister has a pool. She has a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old who love playing with their cousins and stuff. And they're not really going out and stuff. So not really. And before we gave the children to my parents just bought an RV. So they drove up and we drove to outside Columbus, Ohio. They stayed in an RV park. We met them, gave them the kids, stayed 2 nights.
It's like a
all
drug
of us.
deal.
I know, right?
Pass them off. Off we go. All right.
We stayed 2 nights at the RV park, and you can still be separated
Right,
from people
right.
there. You don't have to, get close to anybody.
Right.
And then they drove back to Texas. It took them, 3 or 4 days to get back down there. We came home, and it's like, well, this is nice.
No, I don't know what that's like.
And we're in the midst.
Then your
of,
husband's like, I'll drop my pants any time of the day. Now there's nothing. Well, right.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Inhibiting that now.
and yes,
That's way too much freedom.
They will.
Yeah, right.
They will have to be quarantined when they come back. Ellie won't get to go back to her preschool for 14 days. Okay, it's fine.
Is Texas one of the states that?
Yeah.
It is one of the
yes.
states?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I know there's 19 now.
My
Yeah.
stepdaughter was supposed to go to college, and she's not
Right.
going to Florida.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, of all cases.
Yeah.
I mean, that and she doesn't have an oxygen tank.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She needs we were describing how to
We just
invent a
joke
bubble.
about that. My husband's from Georgia, so they call, North Florida, they call it South Georgia, and he's a Georgia Bulldog, so he hates Florida State.
Gotcha.
So, as we're coming close to an hour, and like I said, I never say stop on an episode, but getting to the end, have you guys, either one of you, have tips or something that helped you out that wasn't told by the doctor that helps you through the process that maybe that you guys can give to our listeners out there? Maybe
Acupuncture.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I did acupuncture.
I did acupuncture before I had the IVF.
And why?
The day of.
Because they wanted me to do acupuncture to increase the blood flow to
the pelvis.
to the
Okay.
uterus, and,
Okay.
and then to calm you, and
Okay.
and then
And that's not always recommended by the doctor sometimes, but that's just
it's just an extra expense most people
course.
don't want to spend.
It's not
right.
usually the cheapest thing to do
and
because
usually insurance probably won't cover acupuncture.
They don't
either,
at all.
yeah.
most insurances, if they do, they'll only cover like 12 appointments in a year.
But it's worth it.
And
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Well, I got lucky. The guy who did. Yeah.
I went to the same one.
Did I tell you about him?
yeah.
Yeah. So the guy who worked for the infertility clinic that we went to has an office here in Glens Falls.
Okay.
So when he wasn't down there, he would be here, and here his rate was like,
Was like-
1/3 of what it
Yeah.
was down there.
Of
Down
course,
there,
right.
a session was like $60 or $80
Right.
for one
Session.
Session.
one session.
And you need like 3 times a week.
And yeah.
Oh, really?
And his was anywhere from 30 to 50. It was a sliding scale, and
Okay.
you choose on the sliding scale where
you pay what
know,
you can afford.
Yeah.
Well, no
And-
kidding.
and
Duh.
it was-
I think I'll pick the 30.
And it was great.
I'll buy that
it was
for $1.
local.
Right.
And the day of the IVF, I did a session at the fertility clinic
Me too.
before
Well, there's
I
your
did
tip
the
right
IVF,
there, though,
and
is
then after.
There's your tip right there is don't use the one at the clinic. Can you find your own?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, there you go. So
but
that's a
the
good
day,
tip, though.
the day of, they recommend you doing acupuncture
Okay,
before
okay.
your procedure.
Gotcha.
So I did one before the procedure, and then I did one after.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's.
Okay.
But yeah, that really.
Anything else? Anything you guys learned on your
No,
own?
other
that
than that, I was told that, and you by then have already done so much research online, and you've part of these chat groups, and I mean,
Well, that's got to be even worse.
Oh, it's a total
because you don't know
mindfuck.
what the hell's going on. What are you, everybody's WebMD out
Oh,
here
yeah.
now?
I mean, everybody is talking about what they've done, and they've all have these big blogs about the ones they've lost and the ones that have taken, and how many eggs they put back in, and how many days the egg was fertilized before it was put back in, either 3 to 5 or 7.
Yeah.
Which I had a big debate about that one, but I had the pineapple thing and a lot of avocado. a lot of avocado. And
I
think it
drink
actually
some
helps.
green tea, you know, something. There's just a few things out there that I was like,
Is there
I'm not
anything they
doing
tell you
that.
not to eat? Or is it
Alcohol,
just... Oh,
Acid,
of course.
painkillers.
No shit. Okay. Yeah.
painkillers,
Okay.
smoking. My case, chicken wings. We had that discussion.
Oh, because of the hot sauce?
No, it's just that that actually speeds your blood flow up. But it was
Right.
the cholesterol problems.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's one thing, I don't have blood pressure, except when I'm pregnant, I have blood pressure problems. But late
That
in
was
pregnancy.
a diabetes thing, probably, right?
No,
No,
because I don't have any blood pressure or cholesterol problems.
none.
How was your
Like-
diabetes during the process?
It was great.
Yeah.
Very well controlled, as well controlled as it can be.
course.
But your first trimester, your blood sugar is just bottoming out
Right.
because a lot of people or women don't realize that in the first trimester there is no placenta. The placenta is growing with the baby. So that first trimester, that baby is literally everything you eat or drink, it is taking it
Right,
from you.
right, right.
That's why women are just like shoveling food
Right.
and stuff in. But then at the beginning of that second trimester, that placenta takes over. Or in the second trimester, it takes over.
Okay.
So at the beginning of pregnancy, blood sugars are bottoming out and you're just like eating constantly. And you're like, cool. Like, I get to eat crap and my blood sugar's still going to be low.
must have-
This is awesome.
This is the weirdest pregnancy ever. I was never hungry. Most women look forward to being pregnant because they get hot. That was because I'm always cold.
Right.
Was always cold. Never got warm. But again, I only gained 20 pounds. I mean, I was just the pure polar opposite. Completely.
But then
Which I'm not surprised.
Yeah, then you get to a point in the pregnancy with diabetes where there's a small little floating area where everything's great. You're not having highs, you're
Right.
not having much lows, it's just leveled out. And then boom, it all changes and you take a drink of water and it's like your blood sugar freaking goes up. It's like you think about food and it goes up and it's like, son of a bitch. Like
And obviously,
And-
you had to regulate your insulin through that time too,
oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, luckily, technology is what it is nowadays. Because when I was diagnosed in 1984, they basically told my parents when I was diagnosed that chances are she won't live another 20 years. Here I am,
it's
going to be
unheard
40
of.
this next
It's
year.
just diabetes. They
And-
made it out to be, but back then,
well,
it was,
in the 80s,
yeah, it was really
they
bad.
had just come out with the first home blood testing
Yeah,
kit
yeah.
in the mid 80s.
I mean, I've had friends' parents lose their feet because of diabetes because
Yeah.
they wasn't taken care of properly, and this was like in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, I could see. I could
yeah.
definitely see that. I could definitely see
But in the last 35 years, the leaps and bounds of managing diabetes has.
I'd rather have
flown
that
off
than the
the
flu
charts.
sometimes. The way the technology is, I've
Yeah.
No,
So
COVID. No, I'd rather have it than COVID.
So I wear an insulin pump.
Okay.
And I wear it's called a continuous glucose monitor.
Okay.
It's about the size of a quarter. You know, I change it out every 10 days and it tells me what my blood sugar is in real time.
Can you feel
Like,
it?
Yeah,
No, I mean, can you feel your blood sugar go up? Why?
it
Why
depends.
ask?
It
It's
depends.
serious.
I
No,
didn't
that's not-
realize what you were thinking.
Yeah,
what you
no.
thought.
Yeah.
Why
Like,
I
can
ask
I-
is because
I thought, yeah.
I'm just the opposite. I'm hypoglycemic.
Okay.
My body doesn't
Oh,
make
yeah.
any
I'm
blood
right
sugar.
there with you.
Yeah.
So back in the
Are you
in
hyper or hypo?
hypo?
Okay.
That's why you don't gain weight then.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the thyroid issue and
Thyroid
and
will
the
s-
massive metabolism that I have. Yeah. So
The
back in high
thyroid will
school,
really screw with your weight.
back in high school, I had to do tests. I had to eat 6 times a day. It had to be cottage cheese and yogurt because my protein needed to be. I had to use protein as a substitute for the
keep your
blood,
blood
sugar,
sugar up.
to keep it up, and went through that. And then they started giving me glucose.
Glucagon.
Yeah.
Glucose.
Yeah. If I dropped,
Mm-hmm.
which made it worse back then because I just shot myself so high with sugar, and then
Is
the
an
crash, and then
overcompensation crash.
it doesn't level you out. Crash. I was eating 2 of those a day because it was going up and down, and I just made it worse. So then I stopped eating 6 times a day just as age went on, and I used to have. I haven't had an episode in probably 2 years, but I would just. Why I asked about the
Yeah.
sugars. I know immediately. My hands get clammy. I start sweating. If I don't
Yeah.
grab
Yeah.
something to eat, I'm on the floor.
You're
I mean,
passed
literally,
out.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, my eyes are closing in,
Yep.
so I don't know how it feels with the sugar high. I know what
I
it
know
feels
the
like in the
sugar
sugar
low,
lows.
too. I've had it
yes.
happen to me too.
And the weird thing is, in general, the signs of high blood sugar versus low blood sugar are basically
look
the
the same.
same, but they can be a little different person to person.
Right,
like
right.
not every single person is going to get all the low ones. They might
Right.
get 1 or 3, or that tell them their blood sugar is off.
Mine's instant.
Yeah.
If I can't
I
get
can feel
something
it
to
coming
eat
on.
within 5 minutes, like I used to like ignore it, be like, oh yeah, I'm sweaty, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm on the floor, and that's it.
Yep.
I can get a headache with either one,
Right.
with high or low.
See, I don't get a headache. I
Especially
sweat.
if it's a dramatic change. If it's just a slow, like it's creeping up because I've eaten, which it always does. You eat, even though you've given insulin and this and that, it is going to creep up, and then the insulin's going to bring it down. The point is to not let it stay elevated.
right.
Even non-diabetics, that's how your blood sugar works.
Right.
Your body doesn't know before you put something in your mouth to give your body insulin for it. It all, happens, automatically.
I feel like I hadn't eaten in days when I'll go through an episode and I'll have to have something sweet, and I'm not a sweet person during the episode.
Yep.
Right, or when I catch it right after, I
just
feel
like,
like I haven't eaten in a week, and it's all salt. It's
Yep.
got to be chips. It's got to be cottage cheese with salt. It's. I mean, I'll eat out. I'll clean the cabinet out in an hour. It's weird.
yeah.
It's like it's like I fasted for a week. It's weird.
If I get up in the middle of the night with having a low blood sugar, I'll go downstairs. I'll eat everything under the
Right.
fucking sun.
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
why I was asking during pregnancy, that would
and then
affect
4
it
hours
too.
later, it's like your blood sugar is 351, and I'm like, well, fuck, that's because I was asleep. I
Right.
went and ate a bunch of stuff, and then I just went back to
Right.
sleep.
Right.
That's
Well,
why I asked
when
you about your
actually-
pregnancy. That
yeah.
had to be really weird.
When you have a low blood sugar, when you're a diabetic, you eat things to bring it up.
Right.
But then once it comes up, you have to compensate for most of what you ate.
Right.
Because otherwise it shoots through the roof.
Right.
And stuff. And I'm like, well, fuck, I just ate some. It's almost like sleepwalking. Like I just do it so naturally that I just ate some stuff, went back to bed. I'm like, wow, shit. I'm like, and stuff. But yes, like during both pregnancies, I kept a jar of peanut butter next to my bed with the spoon.
Oh, I
middle of the night, I'd eat like half of it.
Oh, it's protein.
I'm like, well, yeah, and a lot of times I'll eat, like, if my blood sugar's getting low, apple slices with peanut butter.
Right.
The apple is going to bring it up faster,
Right.
and the peanut butter with the protein is going to keep it level.
Right, levels.
You know, or it's going to keep it up.
Look
Now,
at that, another tip. Look at
Yeah,
that.
I know.
See? Apples and peanut butter.
I don't know. I used to just keep a candy bar in my pocket
Well,
because I would bottom out
well,
so bad.
Well, see, the thing is, with
Boom.
true blood sugar, candy bar is not the because it doesn't work as fast.
Yeah.
Getting into your bloodstream.
Well, I didn't have anything else on me.
Well, no,
Yeah.
and exactly. If you have that, then fine.
Orange juice was best, but it.
yes, and
I never, it wasn't orange
No?
juice for me.
It
I
was always
never
a
did
candy
orange
bar
juice.
for me. I
growing
had
up,
there.
it was orange juice and graham crackers.
I'm not a sweet person, and after them giving me the glucose tablets, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not eating a candy bar. I'll skyrocket real quick, but it doesn't level off. If you don't fix it with protein or something, I'll crash.
Crash again.
And that's even
And it's
worse.
just a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's just
and
worse.
it is exhausting.
Oh, it
not
tires
just,
me
I'm
out.
tired of doing this exhausting. It, like, literally.
I
like,
usually wanted to go to bed after.
I will
you wanna
usually
crawl in
after
bed.
after I eat like a hog, I'm like, I'm done for the day. I'm out. I gotta go to bed or take a nap or something. I'm just totally. It's like just drains, and my body doesn't hurt, but I felt like I ran a marathon,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, holy shit.
What about this? When my blood sugar is high, I feel like somebody's like cut my arms and legs open and filled me with wet sand. Like
I don't get that feeling. Thank
muscles-
God I don't get that
my
feeling.
muscles kind of
yeah.
crank. Like I've been out running a
Running, right.
marathon and I'm dehydrated. Like it
No,
just
mine
you
go
know, and
numb.
It's
like
weird.
I said, it's part of the passing out. Like I said, I haven't had an episode in a year or two.
I get shaky, a
shaky.
headache with
Right.
either one. I mean, obviously, the most noticeable is if somebody is with me and I'm speaking to them, because all of a sudden it sounds like I've drank an entire bottle of vodka, like or anything,
Right.
Yeah.
because it's like I'm speaking in an alien
I don't know.
language.
Does
It's
that happen to
making
you? I don't.
it's
I don't know
making
if I
sense
noticed
to
that.
me in
Right.
my head,
Right.
but as I'm saying it, it's like
I think by that point, I would already be on the ground.
yeah.
Well,
Passed
yeah.
out.
Normally, I could you literally feel the water rushing off your head, down the small of your
Yeah.
back.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, holy, I know it's going to happen because I can feel it. All of a sudden, I'm just like somebody's taking a towel and wringing the water out.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, it's going to be a problem. And it's usually...
And you're shaking. You're
For a girl,
like this.
it's usually around the time of their period. Usually,
yep.
I'm hoping that's not the case for you.
Same thing.
Oh, okay. Is it
Men
the same
have
thing?
hormonal changes too.
Come on now.
I mean, hormones are not only in women.
I've been
why
I've been known to be called that.
Hey,
I'm
you
the
have a
worst in
thyroid
woman,
issue.
so yeah.
That's hormones.
yeah.
You know.
That's why it's just not the mom struggle.
No,
it's
I
yours
know.
too.
I'm not allowed to
But
say
yeah.
the other thing either.
I mean, everybody has different ways that it affects them and this and that. But the longer you're diabetic, the lower your blood sugar can get before you truly notice your stuff. So it can get, dangerous and stuff. There's only been maybe 3 times in my entire life that I've been to a point of a low blood sugar where I couldn't say I need something, like speak to someone around me like I need something. Like,
I think you have a higher tolerance than me because I would have passed out by then.
I know,
at that
I
point.
would have passed
Well,
out.
And it
but-
affects everybody a little bit differently, but
Yeah,
I
but-
shake and I'm like literally, I'll crawl to the refrigerator.
Oh,
before,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not passing out. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
do it.
Nope.
yeah. But yeah, one of them I was probably 7 or 8. Me and my mom were shopping at Sam's. And for some reason she looks over and I'm sitting on the floor and she's like, "Get up." I may have been a little bit younger. She's
Right.
like, "Get up." And I'm like, "No, I can't." She's like, "I said get up." And I looked at her and I was like, "I can't." Like physically,
right.
if I had stood up, my legs were jello.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, the second time I said it, she looked at me. She's like, "Oh shit."
Right.
And she picks me up and she goes up to a worker and she's like, "I need a Coke machine." They're like, "If you go outside," she's like, "No, where is your employee room now?"
Right.
And the woman's like, "What?" She's like, "It's over there." And my mom just took off. Woman comes after her. She's like, "I'll be out of here in a few minutes. She's diabetic. I need something."
Right.
She's like, "Oh, never mind." She had a family member or something that she understood at that point. But she's like, "No." That, and the only other one I really remember was when me and my husband we weren't married yet, but we moved up here and we went to Georgia and stayed with his parents for his high school reunion or something. And his parents are very, very Southern Baptist, especially his mom. And she didn't want us staying in the same room because we were not
Of
technically
course.
married
Right,
yet. This was like October, November. So he proposed that Christmas. So we weren't technically even engaged
Right.
yet. But Brad was like, other family was staying there too. So
Right.
he's like, we own a house together. And,
Right,
this,
right.
so he talked her into it a little bit. She still wasn't too fond of the idea. So we go out for his reunion and we come back or whatever. By the next morning, he said I was like having some kind of convulsion or something in bed, which has never happened to me before.
Right.
He's like, he knew something was wrong. And he's like, Kasey, couldn't get me to wake up, couldn't get me to drink anything. So him and his dad, he just picks me up. They get in the car and they start heading to the hospital.
Wow.
Like his dad's in the back seat with me and he's got orange juice and he's trying to get it down my throat. Unfortunately, my sister-in-law now, her and her husband were staying at the house, but they were out hunting because they live on like his parents own 2,500 acres family land and stuff. Well, Renee is a nurse practitioner. She would have, and she used to work in the part of the
she would have been
hospital
able to
with
help her right
diabetics.
there.
She would have known exactly what to, but they weren't there. They were out hunting. You can't get a hold of somebody on a cell
I've
phone.
never heard of
usually.
anybody having like an episode in their sleep.
And
I know. Me
yeah.
No, I've never heard that.
And so halfway to the hospital, enough orange juice has
came
gotten
in, right.
into me, and I'm like waking up, and I can tell something's not right. I'm in the back seat.
Of a car.
Yeah, I'm laying down with my head, in my father-in-law's lap, but I didn't know who it was at the time
Right.
because I couldn't really
Right.
see
That's
whatever.
weird.
That would be weird for me. Yeah.
And
I would have thrown a punch.
Yeah, right?
I
Who's
start
this?
trying to talk, but my speech wasn't
not- yeah.
truly back yet.
Right.
And I kept going.
I was wondering if I'd get abducted or something.
I
with
kept
some
going.
Kind of weird ring going.
I by the time I'm waking up and I know what's happened. I mean, it's like waking up in your bed. Oh no, I have one other time. When you wake up in your bed and there are paramedics over you. When you're a type 1
Yes, yeah,
diabetic.
there you
Yep,
go.
No, when you're a type 1 diabetic, you know why they're there. Like, you just do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no.
so as I wake up, all I can say is, no pants. no pants. And I'm like screaming this at Brad. What I was trying to say was, don't call my parents. Like, I didn't, this was being taken care of.
Did you have pants on?
You know, I did.
Oh, okay,
I did.
Good.
But I didn't want, they were in Texas. We were in Georgia. There was nothing they could do.
Right.
And stuff. And I was like, my mom will just freak out.
Right.
You know, I'm like.
And drive to Georgia.
Yeah.
With pants.
And,
With pants.
and stuff. And I said it several times. And so to this day, that is a joke between me and my husband. Like, anything happens to me and or anything happens and he's like, no pants.
There's the title for today's episode.
10 years down the road, we still remember this.
What?
Like,
No pants? That's the
pants.
title for today's episode. There you
No
go.
pants.
No pants. Oh, my God.
Oh.
Well, we are getting close to the end. That's
At
gonna
least you're
suck
not
for-
stalking.
What's that?
At least you're not stalking.
No, I'm not stalking.
I know.
I'm just probably going
I'm trying to bring up every old episode and it's just going right over your head.
I purposely am not going to keep talking about any of the old episodes.
I will tell y'all that when I started listening to these, like, you know, I'll sit outside on the patio and just have it on my phone, you know, whatever. And sometimes I catch myself like talking to y'all like I'm in the room, like, you know, like
Well,
y'all
that's
can,
good.
like
That's
y'all
good.
can hear me or whatever. And I'm like, but it's really funny. Like, I'll say something and within 45, 90 seconds, one of you says exactly what I just said. Like, it's weird. I'm like, my husband listened to a few of them too and stuff. And I would do that. And he's like, you just said that. I'm like, I know, right?
Well, there you go. See, now there's another super fan. Look at the quiet
See?
super
And that means we know what the hell we're talking about for a short period of time. Either that or
well, she didn't say what it was we were talking about.
Or maybe
so.
we're just that.
Lots of things. I mean, it wasn't one specific thing,
Right.
you know?
Maybe we're just that predictable. That might be.
Yeah.
That's it. We're
I don't think
predictable.
so.
I
All
think
right,
it's
on that
just
note-
right on the head of the topics
there you
and
go.
the people that, you know, that's what people are thinking.
Well, I'm glad
of,
you
the
listened, and I'm
majority.
glad that you came in.
I know,
It's
right?
only been
That
weeks now that we've been trying to get something going on with a
Well,
guest.
thank you. I
Damn
enjoyed
COVID.
it.
Yeah.
Damn COVID.
Well, soon enough, we'll be in the old new studio soon.
I know,
hopefully.
and then I have to put makeup on. It's gonna so suck.
Well, we did.
Well, at least you know how to put makeup on. I mean,
we did talk to yesterday. You brought up the video. We will be doing some video shoots. Jesus, that sounds really awkward.
I've done those too.
Yeah, I know. There was supposed to be a sound effect right there, but I couldn't find it. No, it's gonna be.
Damn!
That's anyway.
Yeah, thanks to Seth. We're going to be working on the YouTube channel in the next month or so, get that up and going as far as these episodes. But then we talked too that we talked about it, and I think we want to do a live episode, and I think we should do one a month.
I think so too.
It's like I told you yesterday. You guys get a little bit of the behind the scenes, like I was telling you this morning and yesterday. It is a different dynamic though, because what we're doing here, there's no constant interaction as far as the guests coming in. So it gets a little awkward at times because when you're trying to talk, like if we were talking about this, I would definitely be like, hey, if you have any questions or comments, put them in. And you go, and what you're talking about gets
sidetracked
because of the questions coming in. So it's going to be a different dynamic for you. In the studio, usually I see the comments here, but in the studio, there's going to be a large screen TV. So everything that's coming through the Facebook feed and what we're doing.
So you mean like
that'll
when
be helpful though.
When I read her name wrong, it's going to be like the same thing, and I'm going to read a whole question wrong the whole way.
Don't worry about it. I'm the one that'll handle the questions because I'm the one that ruins everybody's name. So I'll take it.
Nice.
Well, that's the thing too, is going through this, I'll be more moderating it. But I mean, you can look and see a comment, or if there's somebody that comes on the page when we do the live feed and it's your friend, but I don't know who it is, you're like, oh, hi, whoever, and you can do a shout out.
Dick pics and stuff. I'm going to blame them all on you.
I'm not putting dick pics on the page.
I'm glad I didn't grow up when that stuff was
Dick
popular.
pics?
No, when sexting and stuff was like popular there for a while. I'm like, yeah, no. that was
Popular for
never-
a while?
You know.
It's still popular.
Well,
Now it's just illegal.
I've been in my relationship for 10 years. I'm married with 2 kids.
Right.
I don't get out a whole lot at the moment, you know.
That might
but
be you might be getting dick pics now because that might be the only way.
maybe I am. I just
I know.
don't see them.
You're just not opening your pictures up.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
my
me and-
text messages keep
me
going
and my
on.
Not
husband, me and my husband met online.
Right.
So
That's
you know,
why she was laughing
What?
about. She
Yeah.
heard that episode.
Yeah.
I
Oh.
talked to her about coming on here and talking about infertility. She goes, "Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to the dating one online." And she goes, "I've been laughing the whole time." And I'm like,
well,
Well, we brought that up
funny.
because of Megan, too. We were talking about Megan. Single and Surviving is another.
Yes.
It's another podcast, which, by the way, will be on the next episode.
I know.
Because she approved it, but we can't do her show yet.
No, but she'll come on with me talking about
Yes.
unruly kids.
Yes, Unruly Kids. We'll have to have Kasey back on too to talk about online dating with the.
Hey,
wait a minute.
I didn't go on very many dates.
I will make sure on that episode, if the three of you are here, Seth will be sitting in this spot because I will not be able to handle all three of you. No way.
Man bashing, is that the way you're gonna look at it?
No, I don't think there'd be any man
No,
bashing between the three
none.
of you, and Megan either. Well, maybe, but I don't think so. I don't think that would be.
I usually am pretty
Megan's not
diplomatic.
like that either, but you should listen to a couple of those episodes, some of the old episodes of those. That's one of our most demanded podcasts to come back.
All right.
We got court ordered to stop. No shit.
Oh,
I'm not kidding.
Seriously, you did.
all right.
And I can't
Well,
say-
now I really want to listen to it.
but it was based on, and it's funny, it's based on she was married for so many years, I want to say 15 or so, very young, and then there was a divorce. She's got a little one, and all of a sudden there's Tinder, there's Match.com, and it was all new for her. So then we decided to talk about, her online. She actually gave some, without names, gave some details about the dates, how things were going with the online dating scene, and I'm like, that's why I brought up the Facebook.
Oh, that would be so. It was like real life at the time. So
Oh
it
my
was
God,
happening
yes.
while it happened. She just went on a date the day before, and then she'd be talking about
Yes.
the date. I would hate to be that guy because if
No
it went
joke.
shitty, you know damn well she was talking
There was
about
no
the next day.
there was no names. There's definitely
I know,
no
but
names.
still, you
But
know
if
it's
you're
you.
listening to it, you know if it's you or
Odds
not.
are I don't know if any of her dates ever
I
listened to them, but there's some horror stories there, and she'll tell you she went out a few times because of the show. She wanted
just
something
to-
to talk about
yeah.
on the show.
It was new material every time she went on a date.
It was research, and sometimes it was good, and sometimes it's holy shit. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't good.
I didn't have any horror stories
Right.
or anything. I honestly didn't go out on, no more than a handful of dates. And yeah, like you were saying, there are rules to it. You don't meet anybody by yourself. You meet in groups or at a place where there are other people you know.
Yeah, there is rules. You don't want to be beheaded on your front lawn. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
That's really pretty bad that you're saying the guy's going to kill you. What about maybe he should
Oh,
meet
there's
people?
plenty of psycho women. Trust me.
I would
I'm
say the
sure.
same thing to some men out there because men are not the only ones that can be creepy and
Oh, I know.
crazy and
That's why I won't do it. I mean, because of the Facebook thing.
It's just a
I
lot
thought it
harder
was
to
on,
rape
like-
a guy. Really is. It's a lot harder to rape a
because
guy.
they don't mind it.
It's just not rape then.
But yeah, with that's why, and I brought it up on her episode too about the Facebook thing. I would never sign up, and I'm not judging anybody. It's just I would never do that. I don't know.
I figured it was better for me to at least talk to them online and see them online, and then you can communicate and send
Right.
like this is a picture, I'm taking it right now and sending it
Right.
to you, things like that. Then
That's not your dick.
Then it was right.
It doesn't look like
Right.
That's false advertising.
I just thought it was easier to weed guys out that way than with drunk goggles on.
that. Yeah. Is that foreskin?
Hey,
yeah,
you
okay.
go to bed at 2 with a 10, you wake up at 10 with a 2.
I am
You
not.
know?
You don't even fly into that one. Nothing. Swear to God. Swear.
I am behaving myself.
Well, I
today.
know that rules are different, and I know I haven't been dating for like 10 years now.
You want to
but
save that for the next episode?
what? The fact of foreskin? We'll save that one for another episode. But I'm asking for, like, if you take somebody out on a date, did the guy still pay?
Hell, I do.
Okay, that's what it should be. But not that I know women want equal rights and everything else, but I think the first date, the guy should always offer to pay.
I don't
The
think
girl
I've ever
should-
been on a first date where I've never paid.
I think
I've
the girl
been pretty
should
much old
say,
school,
I'll give you some money. I think they should, but I don't.
and I've had that happen, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, because if I'm paying, I want a happy ending. No, I'm just totally
Holy
kidding.
shit!
Totally,
Did you just say
I'm
that?
totally kidding. No, I don't wait 3 weeks either. No, I'm kidding. No,
My husband still asks me if he has to pay, and I'm like, they don't give
No.
me things on my good looks anymore,
Everybody,
sweetheart.
everybody, I am totally kidding. No, I usually pay. I was brought up old school. I mean, after if you're dating after a while, I mean, don't get me wrong. In my younger dating days, yeah, I paid for the first couple, and then F it, you can pay for the rest. I mean, yeah, I was
Well,
pretty,
split it at
I was
least.
pretty shitty in my younger.
But I
my
think
younger
the
age.
first date is always the guy should pay. Always.
Unless it's otherwise been discussed.
Unless it's been discussed, yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean,
don't-
I've heard women do Dutch, and that's fine. I've heard
or
some
if
men
the woman's
get.
like a billionaire
Yeah,
and
well-
stuff,
That's different,
then I
too.
mean,
Then yeah, I'll be
But
I'll be your boy
yeah.
toy. Go ahead. Will you pay for whatever
Yeah,
you want?
but I also don't think the girls should go to dinner and like order lobster, a bottle
no,
of
it needs to be
But see-
reasonably.
$200 champagne.
But see, I also get upset. This should be a whole nother show. Hold on. I kind of get upset if you order like an appetizer and a glass of water. No,
Oh, 'cause
be comfortable with
Right.
yourself.
Eat a meal.
Eat a meal. I mean, I get it if you're nervous, whatever. I'm like, if we're out at like you're saying, lobster. If we're out at a restaurant that's offering lobster and steak, then order it. I don't.
Yeah, but if like in the bar when they were normally drinking a vodka
Oh,
cranberry
yeah,
and then
and
they
then
ordered
yeah.
Grey Goose martini.
Because somebody bought them a drink.
Right.
Yes, I
That-
understand.
Yeah.
That I've always thought that was really shitty. I mean,
But I don't. But how do you know the man or woman's taste? I mean, okay, I'm gonna order a bottle of wine. You said I could order a bottle of wine. I'm gonna get a steak and lobster. That's on your first date. That doesn't mean that they don't usually do that.
I usually try to mid-range it. I don't like pick the
Yeah,
most expensive.
bullshit,
element.
bullshit,
Seriously,
bullshit.
I
You-
would-
No,
You're-
what I would do is
You're
look
a
at the
big-
menu
I
and
ain't
I'd
calling you
have
out.
2 items picked out. One that's a little bit more and one that's a little bit less, and then make him order first.
You don't
And
go
it
meal.
sets
You're
the
just gonna get
precedent.
chicken wings and a beer and call it a night. I
And
mean, let's be
but
honest.
When he orders, that sets the precedent for.
Say that again. You want him to order first?
I'm gonna pick something on the menu that's a little more and one a little
Oh,
less,
and
and
then
then
you
let
see-
him order his order first.
As a gentleman,
And-
you do not do that.
Unless you offer and she,
Yeah.
No, you go first.
I always
I'm still
say go
looking.
first.
I kind of judge it
That's
by,
the trick.
Yeah.
I'm still looking. You order. I'll be done when you order.
I usually judge
It
it
sets
by
the
like,
precedent.
what are you going to eat? Because then I see what they're going to eat
See?
and look at the price range it falls in.
Exactly.
And then I kind of either hover a little bit above it.
I'm just gonna get a
around
salad.
it.
I'm just gonna get a salad. You get whatever you want
get a
because I'm
brownie.
saving my money for the salad because I know you're gonna order a lot of goddamn food. I'm not really hungry. Just a water with
I'll
a
get a
lemon,
brownie.
please.
I get
Hold the lemon.
or you're on a date and they order pineapple and avocado. You're like, oh shit.
I'll take a plate of asparagus as well. Come bring it this way.
Make sure you bring a turkey baster too. Thanks.
Mom gave me that.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we end this episode?
Yes,
we
we'll
keep
end it.
we keep trying to end it, and it keeps going and going. Everybody, thank you so much for joining in and listening to this episode. You really should have had a camera in here, or I should have had a camera in here this time just to see the look on my face. But to be honest, I learned a lot. I mean, I think I'll be honest, most men I think are dumb when it comes to this kind of stuff. As far as the information and how you guys are going through it mentally, physically, and
Until they go through it,
I mean,
they
yeah,
are.
I mean, I got it a little bit just from us talking, and I don't think I could ever answer that. But I think some of the things you discussed, I think most men are like, "What?"
Oh yeah, I mean, mentally
Yeah.
and physically, we are taking the brunt of a lot of it, but
Yeah.
you guys are too, because you're dealing with us and dealing with the ups and downs, the
Right.
highs and lows, the financial part of it
Yeah.
usually, and all of it. It's not; they are definitely not out of the loop.
It's
on
not
that.
an easy ride
Right,
for
I'm
anyone
sure.
going through it.
7 years.
I mean,
7 years,
Fuck me.
and that's
Yeah.
honestly normal is anywhere from 2 to 5.
Is it?
yeah, like I said, I was lucky on that. Started in August, and by June, I was pregnant with my 1.5-year-old. So, I feel extremely lucky on our dealings with fertility and this and that. But I also think that my husband was like, this is mostly you. Like,
Right.
you're the one going through most of this. I'm
Right.
basically,
Yeah,
supportive.
Right. What can I do for you? That kind of stuff. I'm here.
And stuff.
No chicken
But
wings, Tracy.
I
No
won't-
chicken wings.
I won't say that maybe he didn't spend a little extra time at work, just like,
Yeah, right.
well, as soon as I go home,
Maybe he went to the clinic a couple extra times.
he's like, maybe she'll just be asleep when I get home.
Right, right. If any of you out there have gone through this or want to talk more or have any comments, please always say put the comments on the post. Go to the Mom Struggles Real Facebook page. You want to direct message Tracy? Do that
I'll
too.
talk to anybody about any of it.
When the show comes out, please put in the comments below if you feel comfortable. I'd love to hear the comments. I know a couple people will chime in. A couple of our listeners I know have gone through this as well. So it'll be interesting what you guys think. And as always, we love your comments. Please rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeart, Spotify, and any one of your favorite podcast apps. And we'll see you next week.
I know. Thanks for everybody for being here.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, Soundcloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.
The mom struggle is real, but it's worth it.